Hey everyone, Chili B here again. Today we're checking out the mid-monthly newsletter for November. Kmal says this should be a pretty short one because the big updates will be coming out in December where they'll be publishing their 2023 Q1 and Q2 roadmap. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Thinking about the website revamp and application site. By that I assume they mean the deal flow application. The website, as you guys know, is now live. And over the next week, they'll be pushing out a few aesthetic fixes and also the deal flow application. The original plan was for it to come out at the same time, but stuff happens, I'm assuming, and they're a little bit behind. Even though the website's technically finished and out now, the plan is to, over the next few months, continue to tweak the website and add new features. They reckon every fortnight you should see some changes, which is pretty exciting. Regarding staking, the LIP for staking V1 has passed. Let's jump over to Snapshot and see the results. By far the winner was option 1, which was the distribution-based soft reset, meaning that at every distribution, there would be a soft reset of the accrued rebase value for Lizard stakers. That won by a pretty massive margin, 87% to that. 0% voted to reject it, so I'm guessing everyone's keen to get staking in. We had a pretty high vote count as well, 960, that's fairly high for us. The really reassuring thing though is that even without our top 3 whales voting, we would still have passed quorum. So that's a really good sign. In a lot of previous LIPs, if we didn't have Lizard and other whales voting, we probably wouldn't have passed. Well, we definitely wouldn't have passed. So I'm taking this as a good sign that people are more engaged with governance now and are actively having their say in the direction of Ethlizards. Back to the newsletter. Kmal gives a special shout out to Seagolem for all his work in the background, helping with the reward structure and building out that demo to see how the rewards distribution would work. And I think Seagolem is a really good example of how community members are just chipping away at things in the background. Most of the time we never see what they're doing, but they're adding tremendous value to the ecosystem. So thank you, Seagolem. And thank you to all the other community members that are doing things in the background that we don't see. Just to finish off the staking news, Kmal says they've been doing work behind the scenes anyway on this staking stuff. I think they probably assumed it would pass. That was a pretty safe bet. There's no ETA at the moment, but the plan is there'll be a roadmap for it and a completion date next month. So it's starting to sound like December's going to be a big month. Looking at advisors now, they've been working in the background with a lot of unlisted advisors and are in the process of getting introduced to more. A few of the advisors they can name are Andy from Scalene. If you haven't heard of Scalene, you should check out their website, scalene.xyz. They're a pretty interesting project. I don't know how to describe it. It's something like an incubator for up-and-coming Web3 leaders. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me. Other advisors we have are also Kieran from Alluvium, Rogier and Florian from Alluvium as well. So Kmal says the team understands that people want to see names on websites. It looks really good to have famous crypto people listed as advisors on your project. But in a functional sense, the more important thing is that they're actually supporting the team. And that's what he says they are doing. In the future, some advisors might want to stay unlisted for various reasons, but others, as the project builds up reputation in the space, might be willing to put their name to it. So what I'm taking from this is that advisors see that there is potential in Ethlizards, because you don't give your time to a project that you think is going to completely fail. But also they're a bit wary because we're pretty new and we're pretty unproven. None of our investments have paid off yet. But as we become a more solid project and as some of our investments start paying off, it's probably reasonable to assume that a lot of these advisors will want to put their name to it to say that they helped get Ethlizards to the point that it's at. And the more important thing for Ethlizards, as Kmal is saying, is that they actually give us the help to get there, as opposed to sticking their name on it and giving us a small pump. Moving on to collabs and partnerships, it looks like the Liaison Lizard team is expanding, and as that expands, it means we'll be able to handle more collaborations and partnerships and opportunities for the DAO. So that's great news. An interesting insight into the struggle of partnerships is that it seems like Ethlizard is trying to balance two things. One is giving us lots of frequent opportunities, but the other side is that there's tons of projects out there that are either low quality or scams or potential failures. And there is some responsibility of the team, whether it's official or just implied, to not partner up with scams or low quality projects. That's definitely not the vibe that Ethlizards is going for, and that'd be a pretty quick way to take down this community. So it's a pretty narrow path they're trying to walk, and I think they've done a pretty good job so far. And I'm assuming more liaison lizards will make that job easier. They list a bunch of projects that have some upcoming partnership events. The two that I found most interesting is Big Time, which is a massive game coming out in the space. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's nice to see that we're now collaborators with them, and there's a giveaway for some of their Ruby passes in our Lizard giveaways, so check that out. The other interesting thing is that they're partnering with Illuvium on their Quest series, so I'm not sure what that is. I haven't been keeping up too much with Illuvium. I'm trying to not look at it too much. I believe in it, but I just bought a bit too high. So I'm just waiting for it to be released and hopefully take off. But anyway, there's an upcoming Christmas campaign, whatever that means. But it sounds pretty exciting. And then they note there's a whole bunch of other minor ones in the works that aren't listed here. To the financials, this is super short, so I'll just read it out. All transactions that have been made in the month so far are for delayed salaries, investments from council, minor marketing, and swapping ETH to USDC. We continue to operate as low cost as possible. I think that's great. We're in the bottom, hopefully, of a bear market, and making sure we have runway to get out of it is the most important thing right now, I think. The last major topic in this newsletter is governance. This is now back on the radar after they've finished the website and the rebranding. And personally, I think this is a really important aspect of any community. You need to get the leadership right so that the community can grow in a healthy way. And they say they've been doing a bunch of research in the background, looking at major protocols that have already implemented some pretty robust governance structure. So that's Aave, Maker, Uniswap, Illuvium. And they say most likely they'll be following in their path to some extent. The aim is to empower holders and further decentralize the protocol. But then the balance of that is to make sure that they leave sufficient power for the team to move forward without blockers and to build quickly. And that is the dilemma of DAOs, really. You want people to have a say, but the more people there are and the more people that have a say, the slower things move. Personally, I think that not everyone should have a say in everything. It's just too inefficient. And you saw lots of early examples of DAOs that went that way, that basically had a democratic vote for every single decision, implode with those early DAO experiments. It really does seem like a council that's appointed by the community to represent the community on most decisions, and maybe just having the really major ones go to a full democratic vote seems to be a good balance between efficiency and representation. And that seems to be the structure that most major projects have settled on, like Illuvium, Synthetics, a bunch of other ones. There's some sort of council that represents the community, and by joining that community, you implicitly give your trust to that council. So I'm pretty excited to see where the governance stuff lands, and hopefully we'll be able to balance decentralization with efficiency, so we don't have a ton of bureaucracy that just slows the team down and slows the whole project down. But I'm really glad the team is putting a lot of thought into this. One last note, they say Lucius is involved in Illuvium's V2 governance, so he's just keeping an eye on that, seeing where that goes and if that might be beneficial to us. A bonus at the end, Kmal's attending NFT Fest Australia as a speaker, which I think is a pretty big deal. And if you're going to be at NFT Fest, you'll be able to say hi to Kmal and pick him out from the crowd because he'll have an Ethlizard shirt. So if you're in Victoria, if you're in Melbourne at NFT Fest, you should definitely find him and say hello and ask him why we don't all have Ethlizard shirts. Just kidding, of course, but I really do want one. Okay, that's the end of the newsletter. Let's jump over to the spreadsheet, see how they're going. Shout out to RickyTan77, who commented that he couldn't actually see the text on the spreadsheet. Thanks for letting me know, and I've zoomed in now, so hopefully this is better. This newsletter, they've given us another update on their transactions. Nothing much to note there. The Dealflow application platform is slightly delayed again. New ETA, according to the newsletter, was the 20th of November, which is the end of this week, if I've understood it correctly. So it's been a little bit delayed, but I'm not too worried on it. They're really delivering overall. And you can see that with the website revamp. They've got another gold box here because it's all done. It was delivered on the 9th of November, a few days late, but again, on the big scale of things, it's pretty on time and they're pretty fast with their deliveries. Governance rework is progressing nicely since it's been back in focus from the start of November. No ETAs on when that'll happen, but it's the type of thing you'd prefer to go slow and get right, I think. Staking LIP has passed, so that's another green box for them. No ETA on the final product, but it's coming along pretty nicely. I'm taking K-Mal's sly mention of an Ethlizard shirt as progress on the merch front. It's really a very small deal, but I'm looking forward to it. 3 new liaison lizards, so we can see the formal structure for community contributors is coming along nicely, and it feels like it's working. We probably won't really know for a few more months, but it's looking good so far. And advisors and collabs coming along nicely as well. They didn't mention it specifically in the newsletter, but I think Halls of Olympia might have been one of these unnamed investments. I'm not actually sure. Potentially this one, investment number 2, where we were waiting to send the funds, or maybe even investment number 1. Hard to keep track, but I'm assuming good progress on these as well. And a Halls of Olympia video should be coming out soon too. So that's it for this update. If you liked it, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.